Thank you very much for all of you attending, and Alison for your lovely work. It always takes a lot of work to organise anything in life, I can assure you. And Alison's done a fantastic job for us speakers and for all you out there. Hopefully I can just match her brilliance. Okay. My story starts on the 25th of November, 2019. I was sitting in my house in Portugal with my wife, and I said, gee, I've got this terrible back, and I'd had an MRI, and I got that call. Some of you might have had that call already. Some of you might get it. I had the call to say that tumor on your spine is cancerous, and we think you've got 6 months to live. I cried. I did a bit. My wife cried a lot. I stopped after a minute, and I said to myself, you know what? What I've achieved in my 56 years, most people don't achieve in 3 lifetimes, because I savor every day, and all of you should save every day. And realize you never know when it's your last day. And again, I started the same as any other kid. Only difference, I was twice the size of everybody. In those, so it's easy to win, I can tell you that. Those are my 2 brothers who are the same size now, you know. And you know, and then obviously I was winning everything. And then one day I came to my father, a German immigrant, who said, and I said to him, listen, I'd like to get a racing bike so I can cycle to training, get more training in. He says, no boy, he's got very long pockets and short arms. He says, the only way I'll give you a bike if you win the Nipper Ironman. So I said, okay, let's we go. So what happens, like all of us in this room, we're complacent. And I went there because I was twice the size, I was going to win everything. And some guy, just more determined, more passionate than me, beat me. That's the wake-up call. That wake-up call happened at 13 years old. And you know, things like this happen in your life to change your life, but you've got to use them. And from that day on, my father said, okay, now we start training. We train, but he never pushed me. And for all the parents out, he never pushed me. He says, our bus leaves at 6 o'clock to go swimming. You're in it or you're not in it. It's up to you. Remember, in life, it's about gut feel. You know your gut feel better than anybody else. So, cut a long story short, trained the house down, and not only won the Nipper Ironman, but won junior and senior Ironman, the first time it's ever been done in the history of our sport. And like our sport, like my sport, half of you guys don't even know what I do, it's in the classifieds. It's always in the classifieds. Cricket, rugby, soccer, front page, and on TV. But I was proud of what I achieved. Until I was sitting in my home in Westville, and these people here know, Michael de Morgan came on the TV then, a long time ago. Eh? And they said, you won't believe what's happened in Australia. In Australia, this guy Grant bloody Kenny, has just won the junior and senior Ironman. He was on South African TV. And I was in the classifieds. How did that work? I said, this is bullshit. I'm going to make this my first goal. Unlike winning junior and senior Ironman, I want to beat this guy Grant Kenny. I couldn't have an opportunity because of apartheid. No chance. But in 1983, in April, I heard that he's going to be in Hawaii to race in an Ironman. I flew over there, just like Matt does. You can fly everywhere to follow this competition. I hated this guy. He's never even seen me. He doesn't even know who I am, but I hated him. And I found out about him. He was one of the most famous Australians in Australia. In every single cereal box cover, he was big. He owned his own airline by the time I met him. So, when I was there in April, he didn't pitch the Aussie, typical. But I heard about this race from the island of Molokai, next to Maui, to Oahu. 52 kilometers, the roughest ocean in the world, called the Channel of Bones. He'd won this race 4 years in a row, and he's going to be there. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. And all of you in this room, I know, you have to make decisions. And how many of you make the decisions financially, where the most important thing is passion? I said, listen, I'm giving up my rugby varsity, giving up studying CA. I'm going to follow my passion to race against Grant Kenny. The race was in October. I made the decision. Again, it was Waikiki. Tom Selleck was at his height, Magnum PR, for those ladies out. But this is the sport of downward surf ski paddling. Let's see if it works. And Play, maestro. So this is my score.
With surf ski, there is just endless enjoyment to be had. There's pretty much nothing that you can't go out in. You can use it as a fitness tool, you can just do the downwind.
When you're paddling downwind, you have to be very fit or fast to go fast. When there's wind, there's waves, and when there's waves, you can go up to 50 kilometers an hour without paddling.
October arrives. I'm finally ready for this race. And remember, guys, all you guys sitting here, it takes effort. You don't just win anything, it takes effort. And I practiced and practiced. And every time I was racing against the local Hawaiians, I said, no, Grant Kenny's faster. But I flew over there to Molokai, to this leper colony, 52 kilometers away, you can't see the other island. And I get there, and finally I meet this guy that I hate, Grant Kenny. He's this big, and he's 3 months younger. I said, hello. He says, who are you? He said, I'm Oscar. I'm here to meet you. The gun goes off. And here's another lesson. He'd won this race 4 years in a row. We should be listening to our older brothers, to our parents, because they've got the knowledge. He'd won it 4 years, so I stuck with him for 1.5 hours. And unlike any running race or road race, you can see where he is. The ocean's like that. You saw the waves that Matt messes around, and Caleb, they're huge. You can't see. The only way you know you've won the race is when you get to the beach and there's no other surf ski. So I got to the beach and there were no other surf skis. And you know what happened? After 2 beers, he arrived. And you know what he arrives with? Excuses. Because when you come second and you don't achieve, there's excuses. People are masters at giving excuses when you don't win. That's why I hate writing. That's why I keep winning. So the poor guy, typical Australian, for 7 years in a row, he came back to come second every time I beat him. Poor guy. And then I get the call. We talked about it. A lot of the talks are talking about it. They said, you banned, Oscar. No more Molokai this year because you're living in South Africa. You're banned. Can you imagine? Do you cry or what do you do? You change direction. I said, what the hell? You know, when I win a race, in a surf ski race, I win a case of wine. When Ernie Els swings his golf club, he wins $1 million. I said, might as well try that sport. So I tried to be a pro golfer, and I got this close to becoming a pro golfer. And 2 days before I was becoming a pro golfer, the person that was sponsoring me to be a pro, his mother died, and all bets were off. That happens in life. And you're all going to have it. So have I. And then, again, but other doors open. 1991, Nelson gets released. And I trained the house down to go to the Olympics, met Nelson, and I actually was the captain of the Olympic team. You can see me in the back left, just have red hair. The interesting thing about going to the Olympics is I came Norman nowhere. I got beaten so badly, it was a joke. I was embarrassed for myself. But understand this, all of you in this audience, in adversity, there's opportunity. There's opportunity. I said, I'm never going to let this happen to me again. This young whippersnapper, a guy called Clint Robinson, won the gold medal. Another bloody Australian. I came nowhere. I came nowhere. So, to cut a long story short, let's fast forward. A couple of Molokais, you win, you lose. That's what happens in life. But in 2012, at the age of 49, I decided I'm going to go and try and win. How stupid is that? 49. I can't do one pull-up. The guys are racing can do 1,000 a morning. I mean, that's true. And the guy, Clint Robinson from Australia, was going for his 3rd win in a row. And he's won gold medals and all these medals, and here's a 49-year-old wants to beat them. And how do you do it? And all of you can do it. You change your life. You change your lifestyle. You change everything. I lost 25 kilos. And something that we all have in common in this room. We're all getting older. Can we agree on that? But you know, the funny thing is, we can all get wiser. If you educate yourself, you can find clever things. So this race in 2012, at the age of 49, to put it in perspective, Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer all given up at 39. You see how useless they are. I wish I had their bank balance though. So at 49, I did a lot of things differently because I could never beat them with sheer power. I had to do it with brains, and we've all got them. The more we study and the more we learn, the more we're going to get. And this is the race in 2012. Let's see the race. I know this race too well. It's so hard at the end. And so in about 2 hours I looked down and I thought, oh, and where am I? I didn't even know. And then I caught up with Bruce Taylor and I said, okay, where's he? Then I saw Dean in front and I thought, okay, I can catch him easy as well. I just kept on going through the field. And then I carried on, and then this last bit I was so tired, and Clint Robinson was coming on me so fast, it was unbelievable. But I just dug deep and made it.
Here he comes. He'll be a 12-time winner of the Molokai World Championships. Here we go, folks. 11-time, now 12-time World Championships. 32 miles. 3:23. He's going to beat last year's record. Oscar Czernycki from South Africa.
The reason why I show you the end of that video, you couldn't see. I wasn't doing Nadal throwing my hands up. I couldn't throw my hands up. I'd used every ounce of strength I had, and it came from my positive mind. And that positive mind stood me instead for my cancer. That's what I'm saying. Whatever you're doing today is going to help you in the future, no matter what it is. So you can imagine, I've got the cancer. They say, and this way you talk about the tribe, Caleb talk about a tribe, you come to where you've got support. So I flew back to South Africa, had my radiation, and I told everybody about my cancer. I didn't keep it secret. Because I know in everybody's heart they want to help you. You just got to ask. And I asked, and one lady phoned me and said, listen, my husband has got the same thing. Because I got told I got multiple myeloma, bone marrow cancer, incurable. So she phones me and said, listen, the chemo that you're going to get is so bad. It was so bad for my husband that in the hospital, he tripped over his drip and broke his back in 12 places. I said, what a deuce. I can't. I said, how do you do that? I mean, I've only been in drips like this, you know. I mean, how do you trip over that? You're so stupid. After every chemo session, most people are sick and say, I can't do it, I can't go out, I'm bad. This is me. Very different. Drinking red wine, blue wine. I never heard of blue wine, but I had it. I had 6 months of chemo in the height of COVID, and then I had to have my harvesting of my stem cells, because they're going to have a stem cell transplant. Now, this is one of the failures that I did. I didn't realize it takes 6.5 hours to run your blood through that machine there. And lo and behold, my bladder was getting full. What do you do after 3.5 hours with the bladder? I said, listen, I've never had this happen before. I whispered in the nurse's ear, I said, listen, don't worry, we do this all the time. I said, thank the Lord. But I was very embarrassed, and guys, I didn't get a happy ending. So don't worry about it. So again, I'm one of the fortunate, you know, in adversity is opportunity. Not that, you're thinking the wrong way. Yeah. I was fortunate that not only did I get bone marrow cancer and incurable cancer, I got skin cancer. I've got big holes in my head and half an ear. These things happen. But they can only be covered if you've got a positive mindset. And that happened 2 years ago again. Can you believe I went to have an MRI, and they said, Oscar, you've got another tumor. And you know the difference was? My wife cried for 30 seconds and I never cried at all, because I knew with all my might I was going to fight it. And so I did. But again, you have to do things differently. I went to Constantiaberg Hospital. I got PACE every single day for 5 days. I got the Red Devil every day for 5 days. They were trying to kill me with all the chemo, but it wasn't killing my cancer. My cancer markers were at 1,420. In fact, I think I'm winning that race as well. The best cancer markers in the world. I'm sounding like Trump now. So nothing works, so what do? You've got to set your goals. And you won't believe, you can see that graph went up, and they said, sorry, you're on your deathbed again, you better go to Portugal. I went to Portugal, went there, and I gave them the same story. Sorry, you're not going to make it. I said, bugger off, I'm going to make it. You better find a way. I went on a drug that cost $600,000 a month. It lasted 4 months, and then I was in the hospital again. Same story. The only difference is the priest came, and I couldn't understand what he's saying when he said the last rites. The priest came and said, you got no chance. But I set my goal. How stupid was this little goal? I said, I just want to get on the plane back to South Africa so we can have a funeral with more than 10 people. But it was a goal. And I wrote it down, and they all tell you in business school, if you write down your goal, no matter it's a phone or anywhere, you can achieve it 85% of the time. Now, in closing, my goal is these medical geniuses find a cure for my cancer. And understand this, what's your goal? It's an important thing. Leave here with a goal.